Okay, here we go with game number 3. This is the third game. This is the final deciding game to see who wins this best of 3 series between the Dragon team and between my Shannon Carter Sidekick team. My opponent rolls a Sidekick, pays a Bolt. Looks like he's going to do a Red Dragon Global. Maybe pick up a Big Entrance. He seems to like to do that. So he Red Dragon Globals, picks up that Big Entrance, puts that in the bag. That leaves him with 1 mask in the field and something to KO next turn if he has a Bolt, and use his Blue Eyes ability to buy something for reduced cost. I will go ahead and very quickly pay a Bolt and pay a Fist to buy a Big Entrance myself, and pass the turn over to him. So he picks up and rolls up his dice. He has 6 dice this turn because he PXG'd right before the start of his turn. Re-rolling that Sidekick, and it comes up as a Fist. So he's going to, most likely he's going to Bolt out his character, or he's going to pay a Bolt and sacrifice KO his character. He's going to pay 3 there, yeah, and pick up a half dragon. Very similar to what he's been doing the past 2 games. I go ahead and PXG, giving me 7 dice and a possible Big Entrance, but the Big Entrance is still in the bag, did not come out here on turn 2. I roll everything up, and I have a lot of Fists here, a couple of shields, or just 1 shield it looks like, a Bolt. Looks like I'm going to save a Bolt and a Sidekick. This is a good opportunity for me to skip right over to Shannon Carter. I've got the energy for it. That Bolt and that Sidekick are there for the Blue Eyes White Dragon Global. So this seems like a pretty good time. Sadly, I wish one of those shields would have come up Fist, or perhaps one of those bolts would have come up Fist. So instead of buying a Shannon Carter, because that didn't happen, I end up just going for 2 Alfreds here, and that allows me to PXG those 4 dice over. Otherwise, I would have been able to take only 2 dice next turn into my prep. My opponent draws up his Big Entrance and draws up his half dragon. Rolls everything up, lands the half dragon, but does not land the Big Entrance. He also got a Sidekick that could come in handy if he keeps the bolts, or a Bolt. Pay a Bolt, knock out one of your characters with the Blue Eyes Global. That Big Entrance does not come up again, but it does give him 2 more energy, so he could technically right away buy a Red Dragon here, which is probably what I would do. He's got to pay 2 to field that half dragon on its 5/3 side. He chose not to keep that Sidekick, so it doesn't look like he's going to try to go for the Red Dragon. Let's see what he ends up doing. Maybe 3 baby dragons? Looks like it. 3 baby dragons. So he's going for tempo early. He wants to get out characters much quicker than I can. That baby dragon has a great stat line too. Makes it difficult to deal with sidekicks if I don't have Shannon Carter. So I pull out the one thing that I have in my bag, which was the Big Entrance left over from turn 1 buy. 3 more Sidekicks come out, so all of those, or so those 2 Alfreds that I bought last turn are still in the bag. So it looks like I'll be getting to those next turn. I have 2 Sidekicks here. That'll help me maintain a little bit of chump blocking and board control. But it looks like I'm going to choose to re-roll those. They both come up as Bolts, which puts me in a little bit of an interesting position because I don't really use Bolts for much except for maybe a Red Dragon Global. I'm going to pay a Bolt and KO my Sidekick to pay 3 for that Shannon Carter. The Big Entrance reduces it by 1. Shannon Carter technically should go in the bag right here, and I remember, good. Before my opponent starts his turn, I remember to put that in the bag. He PXGs, and I end my turn. So he's going to reload everything into that bag, draw 4 new dice. Starts with 2 Sidekicks, let's see, and he draws 2 of his his baby dragons. Rolls a lot of energy, which means he can do a lot of buying. Both of those baby dragons, excuse me, come up on their character faces. He'll have to pay 1 to field each of those. He's got fists already set out for that. Let's see if he chooses to re-roll. No need for those shields. Outside the one that you would use for the Resurrection Global of the Resurrection card that I brought, don't really need the shields on his team. So he's going to field both of those, paying the fists. Whenever he fields a dragon, he can buy action dice for 3 or less for free. He's going to KO both of his baby dragons and pay 1 to pick up that red dragon. So he's sacrificing a little board control, but he's doing it at a great time because he sees that my field is completely empty. So why need the characters unless you're thinking about attacking? You could either attack and I can take 6 damage, or you can KO both of them, reroll them next turn, and buy a red dragon for 1. So I end up drawing 2 of my sidekicks, or 2 of my allies, which are my Alfreds there, and I draw Shannon Carter. But none of them roll, so I definitely want to re-roll all of those. And the nice thing about my team that I've put together is I do have parallax if I start to get some really unlucky rolls. So I can just pay an energy, pick up as many dice as I want to re-roll, and re-roll them. So it looks like this would be a good time to use that because all of my characters came up on energy faces again. I'll keep those masks, re-roll those characters. So one of them came up, but I really want to get that Shannon Carter in the field. I don't want her to cycle, so I'll pay another mask, get both of those characters. Energy again. So I'm just going to keep paying until I can at least get something to stick. And I at least got her to stick. I'll have to pay to field her, so this is probably a good time to stop parallax globally, even if that other Alfred did not come up. Because this puts a 3-3 and a 3-3 out in the field currently. So 2 3-3s out in the field because Shannon Carter is buffing that Alfred. So 2 big entrance draws for my opponent. He rolls everything, or shakes everything up and rolls. Lands one of his 3 baby dragons here. He's going to re-roll the other 2, keep one of those big entrances, and ends up getting another character, and one of them on its bolt's side. So he's got 2 big entrances, which is redundant. He could actually consider reusing or re-rolling some things with the Parallax Global, but it doesn't look like he's interested in that. He's going to pick up 2 lethal forces for free. He did this a little out of order, as he's supposed to use big entrance first, and then he can put stuff in the bag, but I let it pass this time. Pays 2 bolts and a 3rd bolt to pick up that last baby dragon. He paid those 2 bolts last time to field both of his baby dragons that just went out on the field. So I PXG over 6 dice, allowing me to roll a ton of dice next turn. In fact, I'm rolling all my dice because the only other die in my bag was that big entrance that I just pulled out. So I'm rolling everything. That one Alfred over there just does not seem to want to stick to the board. He wants to come up as energy. I do have 2 sidekicks though, and that's good to add to my collection. With his board state being what it is, there's no point in trying to attack because he's just going to block. So really I'm starting to just climb towards that big 1-turn swing and kill. Big entrance. I'm going to pay a bolt and a fist for a falcon, and it's going to go into the bag because of big entrance. I'm going to field 4 sidekicks, 3 sidekicks and an Alfred technically. All of those are 3-3s, thanks to Shannon Carter. And I'm going to save those question marks and masks for Professor X Globaling on my opponent's turn. He goes ahead and Professor X Globals with his 3 masks, takes over 6 dice. He pulled 3 already from his bag, so he's going to pull 1 more. See what he pulls. So I'm still not having to work with that, or having to deal with that red dragon yet, which is nice. But that lethal force is pretty interesting because he can deal for free. Just throw that out there if he uses it, which he's saving. He can just deal damage to any of those characters on my side of the field. So he fields another baby dragon. He picks up one of my saved civilians because it's free. So he can deal 3 damage to any of my characters using lethal force. So he does so, knocks out my Shannon Carter, which reduces all of my characters back to their normal stat line, and then he pings out one of my sidekicks, which is the right play, because if he takes out one of my Alfreds, I can re-roll a sidekick from my used pile, and if it comes up energy, he just comes back on the field. So he KOs one of his characters, pays a bolt, then pays 3 to buy that red dragon. And that's possible because the KO reduces by 2. The big entrance was non-existence, but the half dragon is reducing by 2, and then he pays 3 on top of that for 7. I go ahead and PXG over my dice in such a way that I'm not going to take burn damage. I have 1 die in the bag right now. So he's going to attack at me with 2 3/3s, and so I'm going to, or actually 2 4/4s, excuse me. So I'm going to take that damage, dropping me to 12. So I know he has 1 red dragon in the bag. So, and that's going to come out next turn, so I need to make sure that I put something together and maybe do some damage here, or hope that he does not get enough energy to pay for that breath weapon and do the fielding of the red dragon. Those are my real hopes. So I again roll Shannon Carter, which is nice. I have a Falcon, which puts my win condition in place. Counting the damage that I'll have on board that's unblockable, I currently have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 when I field that sidekick that's in my reserve pool. So I'm paying to reroll with Parallax, hoping to pull more sidekicks, because if I do pull more sidekicks, then I have lethal. But I don't. I end up with a mask and a question mark, though, which is very good. Field there, and field that sidekick. So as I said before, I have 15 unblockable damage currently. But that's going to have to stay where it is because I don't have the ability to swing in for totally lethal damage. My opponent PXGs and I end my turn. I'm saving 2 masks, which means I'm going to move over enough dice to be able to roll everything a second time. Now I really just have to hope that my opponent does not get enough energy to KO all of my characters with his breath weapon. So I start off, or he starts off with 1 roll that's good for me, which doesn't come up with the red dragon. Rolls it away again. Let's see. No, a double bolt. He gets the baby dragon, though. That big entrance is going to do him no good, because he's really just trying to get that red dragon out to KO my stuff. Wipe my board. So he's going to use the Parallax Global to take all of those dice, shake them all up, and roll them again. Red Dragon doesn't come up again, so he probably will do that same thing again. Looks like he will. Just shaking up those 3 dice. And the Red Dragon does finally show up, but he's in a tough position, it looks like, because he's going to have to pay 3 to field that Red Dragon. And that big entrance did not come up as an energy face, so that will do no good. He really needed that to come up as energy so that he could use that to pay the fielding cost. So he has to pay 3 to field, and that leaves him with only 2 in the field, which means he can't breath weapon. So I lucked out here. Let's see if I can capitalize on that. I'm going to PXG all my dice over, or those 2 dice over, so that I don't have to take any burn damage, because I have nothing in the bag currently. So I'm rolling sidekicks. I'm rolling, I think, what, 5 sidekicks? 4 side? Yeah, 5 sidekicks. So I have to get at least 2 sidekicks. So there's 1. If I can pick up another one, then this is game over. If not, then I'm going to have to start hoping for parallax rerolls. So I didn't get another one, so I'm going to have to start parallaxing. So I'll pay 2 generic energy so that I can roll all those sidekicks. And I actually end up getting 2. Here we go. So with that, all I have to do is field those past my priority, and then I'll be able to swing in for lethal. So these were some really back and forth games. So there you go. I attack with Falcon, making all my sidekicks unblockable, and that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 damage. So, like I said, these were some really fun, really close games, back and forth. I hope you guys enjoyed them, and I'll be coming back at you with a couple of new teams here pretty soon. Thanks for watching.